It is, what is it, January 14, 2024. It is Sunday. Sure hope you all had a nice weekend. Analog synth player Lindy London, Ray Clay. Hey, Ray Clay. Nice to see you, Ray Clay. Sherry Hughes and Cynthia Johnston, hello. And thank you both. Thank you very, very much. And let's see who else is in our chat tonight. Donald J. Trump and Super Painting 62. Barb in Ohio. Oracle 11, Matt Davis. Forever Flowers. Oracle 11. And Patricia White, Rage Against the Machine. Hello. Marty Lauderdale, thank you very, very much. Czech Rockstar, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. I know the hours are very different where you live, so it's good to see you. Jane Northrup, hello. We're just going to swing right into it. Yeah, well, let's see. Oh boy, that snowstorm in New York. It was so bad that this evil tyrant had to issue a travel ban. No joke. Actually, let's see if this plays.
In consultation with the county and the city, a full travel ban for all passenger vehicles in Erie County starting at 9 p.m. tonight. We'll reassess the ban.
I am going to pull up my video that I posted on Never Lose Truth. And you guys who are new, and if you don't know that I have magically been reinstated on a primary channel, which is really pretty strange, but hey, whatever. Good old YouTube. But I very soon after posting on Never Lose Truth got a community guideline strike, and yeah, well, couldn't post for a week, but started posting again. And the audio track was
I declared a state
not
of emergency
syncing
for the North
on the
Country
video
and
that I
Western New York.
was trying to play. So, wow, it only took a few minutes, guys, if that, to get it all together. Here we go. Listen to New York. Oh, New York, New York. You have no clue. Obviously, some people do, but a whole lot of people don't, and that's frightening. It's frightening because there is so much tyranny happening in the Big Apple.
I also announced restrictions on travel for empty trucks and tandem trailers. But given the deteriorating conditions, and in consultation with the New York State Thruway Authority and the DOT, to keep motorists safe, I'm announcing in consultation with the county and the city a full travel ban for all passenger vehicles in Erie County starting at 9 p.m. tonight. We'll reassess the ban tomorrow morning. It will not be safe to be out on the roads tonight. Local and state law enforcement will be enforcing these bans. And the full travel ban gives us the opportunity to try and keep on top of the snow removal to keep the roads safe and clear. We'll closely monitor the conditions overnight and again determine whether we need to extend that travel ban at 6 a.m. Again, that is a full travel ban, passenger and truck vehicles on top of the existing the truck ban for empty trailers and tandems. So it's 9 p.m. It begins all the way on the thruway from exit 46 in Henrietta to the Pennsylvania border. Now, We do not want trucks evading the ban. We have seen what happens in the past, as recently as this past week, when tractor trailers that should not have been on the road block traffic, causing pileups. The ban will be in effect on all these roads for now. And now is the time for these truckers in particular, whether they're coming over the Peace Bridge, coming up from Pennsylvania, or coming from the east, make sure that they monitor the conditions right now. Travel now, not later. Take alternative routes, or else you have a severe risk of being pulled over by law enforcement. We do not want you on the secondary roads once this storm begins. It's also the time for our residents to be doing their shopping this afternoon. Stock up on what you need. Do I need deliveries? Whatever you have to do, the sooner you can get it done, the safer you'll be.
That's your mommy taking care of you, New Yorkers, because you've never dealt with snow before. And was it that bad in Erie County? No, it really was not. And this is coming more and more and more. And it'll come to more states. Climate lockdowns. Just wait. Too bad we just sat around doing nothing. Yeah, here. And that driving ban, she said they would consult county officials at 6 a.m. That ban was still in effect. Well, when I looked, it was 9 o'clock here in Arizona. So it was either 11 or noon. Still in effect.
Hours ago, the driving ban went into effect for Erie County as officials hope to keep motorists off the roads as conditions worsen.
That's interesting.
Right now, a live look at our studio in downtown Buffalo. That's where Two on Your Side.
No audio.
Nate Benson continues
no
our coverage
audio?
from the rooftop tonight. Nate?
Yeah, hey there, Dave. City, county, and state officials worked to ensure that everybody knew about that driving ban and the severity of this storm. Included sending out 2 alerts with FEMA's iPause system and clear
I have it
messaging.
all the way up.
It's going to be horrible sometimes.
Okay, there was audio before. I don't know what's going on. Ah, my life. No audio. What is going on? Okay. What is going on here? No mouse. What is going on? Isn't this interesting? No, it's not. It really is not.
Hey there, Matt. Over the last couple of hours,
What, pray tell, happened here? You hear me loud and clear, but you don't hear the videos. You heard the video? How did you hear the video? Because nothing is playing for me.
at least 2 feet, maybe a little bit more of snow on
You
top
hear
of
this
this
video?
truck. And get this, more snow is in the forecast, not just tonight, but into tomorrow as well. On top of that snow is some very windy conditions too.
Government camp is digging out after a night of
don't
heavy
tell me
snow.
that the
I got
audio
in
is
last night.
working
I just
fine
kind of didn't
because
want to
you
drive
can
in
hear
those
me.
conditions, so I
You
figured
can
better
hear
to
the
wait it out up
video
here
too.
than try and come up at any point in the
And
next couple days.
There's
But what's
nothing
different
on my
about
end.
this latest
Nothing at all.
storm is this is all coming from a rare blizzard that started to move in early Tuesday morning. A lot of people like Alvaro drove up last night with the
And it
hopes of hitting the slopes,
just
but the
started.
resorts were closed because of the conditions.
I don't.
He even
I
slept.
can't- Look, guys, on my end, I'm telling you, a whole lot is happening. I don't get it. I just don't get it. All right, let's go back here. This was the mad snowstorm. This is the travel ban. Yeah, for you guys who don't know, especially you guys outside of the country, Buffalo would get 4 feet of snow and there would be no travel ban. None. This was why she issued the travel ban. winter storm rolls into downtown Buffalo. Okay, I have no clue why I couldn't hear. The audio was completely dead on my end. So, wow, that is horrendous. Thank God that there was a travel ban, because otherwise, what would you have done? You would have driven. This is probably the worst it got in terms of some whiteout conditions, but still hardly any snow. And yeah, travel ban. Go out and do your shopping now, because we will not let you drive later. Mayor Brown of Buffalo provides an update on conditions in Buffalo. So this is the video that I was listening to. I look at the time here. It was like 9 o'clock, and that meant it was 11 or 12, because Arizona doesn't have a time change. I still don't know how many hours difference I am from New York. But I'm looking at this, I'm thinking to myself, wow, did you so want to see people not comply? Frankly, everybody should have started a car convoy in Erie County to protest that travel ban.
Hello, Mayor Byron Brown. Thank you so much for joining us this early Sunday morning, Mayor.
Good morning, Melissa and Pete. It's good to be with you.
Yeah, please set the scene for us. What's happening right now in the city as far as snowfall and snow removal?
Right now, the snow ban was north of the city mostly. Overnight, the band is moving into the city now. We could see several hours of snowfall in the city of Buffalo as the band that was north of the city moves into the city and then moves south. We have over 200 pieces of equipment that began staging this morning at 7 o'clock, a little more than an hour ago. We will have snow fighting equipment on our mains, secondaries, and residential streets. The equipment should be very visible. We're asking people to follow the travel ban. The travel ban is still in effect. It's being evaluated now. Certainly there'll be communication between the state, the county, and the city on the travel ban. As you indicated, the travel ban does give crews the ability to get into streets, to plow snow. That's an important part of the operation right now. We're asking residents to continue to follow the alternate parking regulations so that we can get to your streets and so that there is no difficulty in being able to plow the snow in our neighborhoods.
Now, Mr. Mayor, you had mentioned the travel ban's being evaluated. Have you heard from the governor's office at this point? And is there an indication as to when a decision will be made to extend it or to let it expire?
In events like this, the city is communicating with the state and the county pretty much around the clock. There has been no decision to lift the travel ban at this time. That is currently still being evaluated. As you've been reporting, the snow bans have been moving. This is an unpredictable storm. It was north.
Oh boy, New Yorkers, man, do you have to stand up? This woman wants to throw you in detention camps, not even if you're sick. But there could be a possibility if you walk past somebody with your cell phone and they have a cell phone and they collect the data on that and they happen to be sick. What is wrong here? Travel ban. I wouldn't even call it a storm. Okay? I wouldn't even have called it a storm. It snowed in Buffalo, in Erie County, and your governor said you can't drive anywhere. Okay? Now, I grew up in New York, lived in Massachusetts, New England. Snow, it's what we get. This has never happened before, okay? Unless there's no, we had nor'easters. I don't remember ever having a travel ban. Though I didn't drive because, well, snow was all over the streets. I just wish that people would grow up and recognize the tyrants that are controlling their life and gaslighting you, claiming that this is so bad that she had to institute a travel ban when it wasn't. Okay. Wow. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Here, Buffalo, New York. Oh my God. Massive snowstorm hit Buffalo, New York, USA. Well, this is Earth, EV, whatever. I don't know where this guy is. Maybe he's not American and he's putting him out from another country. This was massive snowstorm. Okay.
A massive snowstorm hit Buffalo, New York. A Saturday blast of winter weather has led to dangerous conditions, thousands of power outages. Governor Kathy Hochul announced potentially life-threatening conditions, which could include damaging winds, freezing temperatures, and lake-effect snow. Governor Hochul and local authorities also announced a full travel ban for passenger vehicles effective for all of Erie County.
Another walk in the park for the old sugar daddy here.
And in these conditions, our government did not have to issue travel bans. We just didn't drive, or we drove very carefully. And some people did have accidents. Oh my God. But please, wake up, smell the coffee. We're going tyranny.
The NFL playoff game between the Buffalo Bills and visiting Pittsburgh Steelers has been postponed until Monday due to a winter storm, New York Governor Kathy Hochul said on Saturday. Some of the most severe impacts were expected in western New York, where a driving ban will be in effect in Buffalo starting Saturday at 9 p.m., officials said in a Saturday morning conference. And blowing snow.
Oh boy, it's so hard. It's painful. It's painful to watch this. You know, when you're getting screwed left and right, when it's so flippin' obvious, you would expect adults to say, I'm not putting up with this. But the majority put up with it. And this guy, who is this guy? Okay, he's a former hockey coach, frustrated golfer, political and history nerd, just a kid from sunny LA who grew up to be Erie County's executive. And here he is, posting on Twitter.
For those of you who are wondering why there may be a driving ban, I'm in the town of Cheektowaga. It's rough. Hang on. It's pretty bad out here. You can't really see more than in front of the hood of your car. I'm heading to the operations center. This is why there's a driving ban for most of Erie County. Stay safe, stay inside. Take care, everyone.
Oh my God. This is the reason why. It's windy and it's snowing. Okay. Sure wish you were here so I could hear responses that match what I'm saying, and that just doesn't happen. That was a storm. Yeah. Bad, bad, bad storm. Stay inside. Don't drive. If you drive, the full force of the law is coming at you. An electric vehicle fire. Another one. Oh, they're happening all over the place. If you have an electric vehicle, I suggest you sell it. If you're thinking of buying one, I suggest you don't.
Hazmat 17, confirmed residential structure fire. Hazmat 17, confirmed residential structure fire.
2 vehicles on fire in the garage. One is an EV. We're starting hazmat.
Perimeter is complete on the 3rd floor, north extension, light smoke. We do have a red in the garage. Engine compartment is smoking.
At 7:40 a.m. on Wednesday, January.
Oh, the electric vehicle fires. Independent Party ID tied for high. Democratic ID at new low. A new, I think it's a, was it Gallup? Gallup poll. Yeah. Political independents continue to constitute the largest political bloc in the U.S., with the average of 43% of U.S. adults identifying this way in 2023. Less and less are identifying as Democrats. That's a surprise. Even less are identifying as Republicans. I think the legitimacy of our government is, well, waning on people's minds. And yes, you Republicans, you Trumpers, you MAGA people, you go for it.
Well, we've loved it. We think it's a great country, a beautiful country, and we have had a tremendous success.
Yeah, great success.
And this gentleman, as you know, he's done a great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
One more question. Well, we've loved it. We think it's a great country, a beautiful country, and we have had a tremendous success.
Yeah, great success.
And this gentleman, as you know, he's done a great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
One more.
But you'll find justifications. You will. You're not going to let go of your Savior. Something will come to you. He's just playing 4D, 5G, 7D, 8D chess. Operation Warp Speed, 5G, get it out there. Take away the power of local governments. Give it to telecommunications industry. Democrats bring bill to prohibit armed citizen militias. Well, that's interesting. The bill, dubbed the Preventing Private Paramilitary Activity Act, it would prohibit privately organized groups from publicly patrolling, drilling, or engaging in harmful or deadly paramilitary techniques, or interfering with or interrupting government proceedings, interfering with the exercise of someone else's constitutional rights. The bill defines a private paramilitary organization as any group of 3 or more persons associating under a command structure for the purpose of functioning in public or training to function in public as a combat support, law enforcement, or security services unit. The bill states, acting with or on behalf of such a private paramilitary organization while armed with a firearm, explosive, incendiary device, or other dangerous weapon, and engaging in patrolling, training, interfering with government or constitutional rights, or assuming the functions of law enforcement without official authority. That's right. Only government can interfere with your constitutional rights. So, some of those groups, examples, Oath Keepers, the 3%ers, the Proud Boys, get rid of them. Get rid of them. And yeah, they want to get rid of your cars. That's why they're making them so expensive. You got this inflation, you got the economy that is just hanging on by a thread. People can't pay for their cars. A whole lot are being repossessed. 80% of Americans will lose their car.
John here, we are witnessing the scheduled demolition of the entire auto industry.
The average car price is now more than $48,000, and buyers are being further squeezed by rising interest rates.
Car repossessions are on the rise as drivers across the country fall behind on car payments.
And roughly 150 million Americans that own cars today will not in the next 6 years. Sounds far-fetched, but this has been in discussion for many years. I'm going to show you all the traps that have been set over the last, call it 7 years, that all Americans that own cars and have recently purchased cars more than likely have fallen into. And this trap is going to set that rug pull to where nearly everybody loses their car. But if you're planning in advance and you're looking exactly what's going on right now, you'll be able to pivot and move around the insanity that unfortunately we now live in. I'm going to break it down for you. I'm going to show you exactly what's going on because this is absolutely crazy. It's almost unbelievable. But at the end of the day, facts are facts. When you look at exactly what's happening, you'll be able to make smart and well-informed decisions versus, the other person that's looking at well-informed decisions versus.
Okay, I had an audio problem again. It just went out. I don't know what's going on, but it came back.
Unbelievable. But at the end of the day, facts are facts.
So, repos per day are nearly 20,000 cars. You're kidding. How could we be repossessing 20,000 cars a day? That does seem a little high, doesn't it? Wow. Okay, so I'll link below to this video. You can check it out. But yeah, the economy is not doing so swell. But I know, believe the lies because it helps you to feel cheery. See, everything is going wrong. I don't like it. Okay, stay up there, please. Thank you. Okay. Boy. What else do I have? Constantly seeing farmers driving into Berlin on their tractors for the protest tomorrow. It's expected to be massive. You won't hear this on mainstream media, but it's a happening thing. It happens in a lot of countries, not the United States, but a lot of other countries. People actually get out, try to fight, try to do anything. Forget about the result. They're actually taking action. That's important. Heading for Berlin. And I'm going to say this again. Canada, you did such an incredible job showing to the world what can be done with your trucker convoy. Hats off still much respect. Countries following you.
Ey, was für eine Süße ist das hier einfach. Kommt vorbei direkt, versorgt alle. Wie heißt du?
Anne.
Anne, ey, beste Frau.
Ja.
Total süß.
Machen wir gerne. Wir sind ja froh, dass ihr hier seid.
Ja, mega. Richtig geil. Daher stehen wir.
People are now handing out free food to support the German farmers and truckers that are protesting. This is huge. Look at this.
Oben auf dem Brandenburger Tor drauf, kein Problem.
Kommen noch mehr nette Frauen.
Aber vorher lassen wir erstmal Beton ausmischen, nichts dicke.
Yes. And I'm going to play some of this video. I will link below. Benny Johnson on German farmers shut down entire country. Yeah. well, he does say that, I think he used the word populism, but it works when people band together and get out there and take action.
This is one of my favorite images, meaningful images, that have ever been created. It shows a slave master with a whip and all of the slaves bowing down, one slave standing up to the man with the whip as he screams and writhes. And as soon as that one man stands up, many others begin to join them. And then soon, as they all stand up, the slave master is the one with the whip bowing down to the rest of them. What does this mean? Well, there can only be so many elites. There's a point of like elites, right? They're not populists. They're not the largest part of the population. They're often actually the worst people in society. They're often, as we are seeing now with the Epstein releases, they're often the worst people that you can possibly imagine. They're sickos, they're degenerates, and more importantly, they're not driven by like family or love of nation, God, or country. They're driven by love of themselves and the craven pursuit of power for themselves. And so that is why it is so important for us to be populists, because populists, by definition, care about the population of people they live around, their neighbors, their communities, their towns, their states, and then their countries. But it really starts with caring about your own family. It starts with caring about the people next to you. And what kind of a father would I be, or what kind of a parent would I be if I wasn't able to feed my family? I mean, that's one of Maslow's hierarchy needs: shelter and food, water to drink. Without those things, you live a terrible life and a very short life. And that is why the slave masters who wish to keep us all bowing down to them are cracking the whip above the heads of our farmers. Farmers around the world have provided a universe that is unthinkable to our ancestors, where we have too much food. For all of human history, food has been something that you can control. Go back and read your Bible. Controlling food during famine is obviously where all power comes from. And families would have to travel long distances just to beg for grain. Same thing has happened throughout all of history, leading up to recent history, where suddenly the paradigm flipped because of technology and because of the ability for us to cultivate land effectively and properly. We have now an abundance of food. We actually give away our food. We have so much food, America gives it away to starving countries all around the world. In fact, now the problem for poorer people or the underclass is obesity and not starvation. How crazy is that? That's in one generation, we've been able to flip that. Now, I mean, that's still a big problem.
The obesity is from big pharma, from GMOs, from psychiatric medications, from an awful lot of medications that are causing obesity. It's not because suddenly Americans are just eating so much more, though there are some, but no. The obesity, childhood obesity, well, it also comes from just sitting around staring at these things, and the kids, are not out playing, so that absolutely is a part. But we were made obese. We were made obese. We're the most obese Western nation. We're the most obese nation on the planet. And it was pretty much one generation. Unbelievable. So he goes into a lot of what the Germans are doing, and I'll put the link in again. But yeah, I mean, we just don't have the people, and that includes just a whole lot of awake people who are just sitting back doing nothing, and there's few of them and a whole lot of us, and well, we can't do anything. There's nothing to be done. It's always been like this. Yeah. U.S. states aiming to outlaw chemtrail, weather modification. There are so many bills floating around that it's becoming impossible for the average person to keep track of them. We occasionally get surprised, like with this New Hampshire legislation prohibiting weather modification and atmospheric spraying. Will it pass? Well, that remains to be seen. Will it do anything, even if it passes? No, unfortunately, because even if New Hampshire had, let's say, they contracted out WeatherMod, to these commercial companies to do weather modification in New Hampshire. Even if they stopped that, New Hampshire is a tiny little sliver of a state. So the weather modification going on in Vermont, in Maine, in Massachusetts, good luck. Okay. What I do think is good, though, and I, too, am not mocking the bill. I just want to say that, your legislators put out a bill to stop weather modification and atmospheric spraying. I guess that means it's happening. It's happening. It's not a conspiracy theory. I'll link below if anybody wants to circulate it to let those know that no, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's actually happening. I think this is too long. The link is too long. I didn't think it would be. Okay. Well, you can find it on other sites. Too many characters. So, that's worthy of circulating. Just say to those who call you a conspiracy theorist, me and the New Hampshire, this bill also, they're conspiracy theorists in the New Hampshire legislature? Really? Oh, God. And here, disease X deadlier than COVID-19. Could kill 50 million people, says a UK expert.
News across the globe in terms of health. In fact, the World Health Organization has named the next potential pandemic as Disease X. But that's not all. Disease X could be on its way. British healthcare professionals are gearing up for Disease X, which they say may be deadlier than COVID-19 and may have a similar impact as the Spanish flu. The WHO says Disease X could be a new agent, a virus or a bacterium or fungus without any known treatments. A report in the UK, beg your pardon, Daily Mail quotes an expert, Kate Bingham, who has issued a warning claiming that the pandemic caused by the Disease X could claim at least 50 million lives. She also mentioned that the virus has the potential to result in 20 times more fatalities than COVID-19. Scientists from the UK are putting their effort into developing a vaccine for this potentially deadly pathogen. After the potential threat from Disease X, WHO has now considered outlining a research and development blueprint that can focus on the diseases and the pathogens which needs to be prioritized for research, of course, in the context of public health emergencies.
People wake up in their own time. You can't force it. Well, you can help them along. You can help them along. As people are dying, as people are getting destroyed, as weather is taking away people's homes, you can help them along. Yeah, and our good old migrant crisis.
Can you tell where that's from?
Yeah, Senegal. So these guys come through, don't want you to know who they are. So they dump their passports on that side. And then they make up a name, and we accept it. That's how stupid we are. This is where they came through.
Wow.
Last night this morning. Cartel house right over there on the Mexico side. Runs the whole operation. We have a camera, Border Patrol camera right here, that looks down and sees them actually cutting it. We just let them do it. It's the same pattern everywhere. They drop their documents so we don't know who they are. They make up their new names because they've been instructed to by the NGOs. But the crazy thing is they drop their currency. And I get it if you're coming from Venezuela where you can't exchange your currency. But here you've got 200 Mexican pesos. That's $10. That's $10 US. Then there's a 50. That's $2.50. Then there's a 20. That's $1. That's $13.50. And you would ask, why would you do that? Because we don't take your money from you when you come into America. They have to give this back. But it's because they know they're getting your money. That's how much they don't care. So sometimes when you're in the field, you have to improvise. Thankfully, I have a tie with me. We got some of the tent stakes from the illegal aliens' tents that the leftists are leaving out, turned it into a fishing rod, some tape on the end, so we can go get the IDs that the guys that don't want us to know who they are leave on the Mexico side.
Nice cat.
Here we go from
wow,
India. Singh Sukhmandeep Singh. We know you're here.
Okay, so in this clip, creepy connection with Hollywood and the Catholic Mafia. Catholic charities.
I'm here with Joseph Trimmer.
Yeah, so I don't understand why these people are hiding, man. Like, we're coming here to report on the truth, right? We just wanted to make sure that we understand what's happening. But what I find extremely interesting, if you take a look at this building and the building across the street, they're literally blocking the windows with tarps and bags.
Right.
I mean, you couldn't possibly look any more freaking sketchy if you tried, right? Like, blacked out windows, are you freaking kidding me? Then the NGO worker comes out and he's like, I respond to no one. You guys can't tell us what to do. We're doing our own thing. Nobody's coming out. The manager's not coming out. We'll do whatever the fuck we want. That's exactly what just happened. And he hid. He went back inside. He's hiding. This dude's wearing a freaking mask. 4 years after COVID ended. This guy's nuts.
And where are we?
Catholic Charities, RGV, here in, is this McAllen?
Downtown McAllen.
McAllen, yeah. That's nuts, man.
And do you see the connection with the sign? What does that tell you when you see that sign that says Hollywood? What is Hollywood known for?
Trafficking.
What?
Children.
Thank you.
Dark.
You work for Catholic Charities? I want to speak to your director. What's your name? Where are the missing children? Where are the hundreds of thousands of missing children you guys sex traffic into the country, into the world? We demand answers. The American people demand answers.
And the American people won't get them. And for those who claim, well, we need people to pick our fruit, you should see how the farms have advanced technology and they're using it. Yeah.
They're loaded onto a multi-level transport tractor. A dig and snag mechanism allows for fast carrot uprooting. Rollers spin a bale of hay for multi-directional wrapping. Spinach is clipped and sent up a belt for human packaging. Hexagonal compartments of honeycomb are sliced off mechanically. Industrially harvested are loaded onto a multi-level transport tractor.
Yeah, we need them. We need them to pick our fruits and vegetables. And I'm going to play this again because, you know what? Something needs to be done with Americans who are just not rising up. And this is Maine. Where are all the Mainers protesting all of these migrants who are being put into brand new apartment complexes and their rent is free for 2 years? They have transportation free to get to whatever they have to get to. It is unbelievable that we are sitting back.
Dozens of people showed up this morning to the grand opening of new apartments at the Brunswick Landing. These units were built specifically to house asylum seekers as they wait to receive their work permits, which can take months. There will be 60 apartments total here serving this purpose. 24 of them are ready now. State government will essentially pay the rent for 2 years. After that, the buildings will convert to market rate and affordable housing units. Some asylum seekers have already moved in and say this option of transitional housing is much better than living in a hotel or at a shelter.
In hotel, there's rules and regulations, and in a shelter too, we have so many people. We share kitchen together, we share the restroom together.
This is a very unique solution to a very exciting opportunity in our state. We have thousands of folks coming to Maine who want to make Maine home. We're doing everything we can to help that situation.
Dozens of people showed up this morning to the grand opening.
How can people see that this is not a deliberate agenda taking place all across the country? If they can do that for asylum seekers, no, illegal migrants, if they can do that for them, why can't they do that for a homeless? Residents, the veterans, the elderly who are being booted out because the rents are skyrocketing, landing on the streets. Why can't we do that for them? Oh, right. Americans, you are being treated like you're nothing. No, worse. The contempt that local, state, and federal government have for you is intense. It's in your face, and you really should respond. But unfortunately, I think that a whole lot of Americans are so demoralized. They have no respect for themselves at all. So they just take it and take it until they're on the street, until they can't do things. But they'll still take it. Because once you hit survival mode, wow, man, the energy that you need to keep fighting in survival mode is very difficult. We are, and I've said this for my entire time on social media, schmucks. Schmucks. Dangerously so. And it's not just Americans' opposition of unsupervised adolescent asylum accommodation in highly residential area. Change.org. Okay. It's a petition to oppose the redevelopment of the Limes, Dartford, a former elderly residential care home which closed in 2011 and most recently being used as a training center for police dogs, and to turn it into a venue to house up to 50 unsupervised adolescent asylum seekers for up to 2 weeks at a time while their right to remain in the UK is processed. All these places. And boy, renovate it, get it ready, hotels, get them ready for illegal migrants all over Western countries. And wow, money for war, but not for hospitals, doctors, nurses, schools, teachers, the poor, the elderly, the homeless. And the list can go on and on. We need to do more. That's from Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. We need to do more. We need to give a package of defense aid to Ukraine since the war began of $2.5 billion.
But we need to do more. Our actions right now will determine the future path of the war. So far from our resolve faltering, the United Kingdom is announcing today our single biggest package of defence aid to Ukraine since the war began, worth £2.5 billion. This will include more air defence equipment, more anti-tank weapons, more long-range missiles, thousands of rounds more ammunition and artillery shells, training, for thousands more Ukrainian servicemen and women, and £200 million to build thousands more drones, the single largest package of drones given to Ukraine by any nation. In total, since the war began, the UK will have provided almost £12 billion of aid to Ukraine. And I'm proud that today President Zelensky and I have signed a new security agreement that will form the core of a partnership between our two countries that will last 100 years or more. This is the first in a series of new bilateral security assurances promised to Ukraine by 30 countries at last year's Vilnius summit.
The war is pretty much over. The war has been lost by Ukraine. Zelensky, you're giving £2.5 billion to Zelensky, when it doesn't matter how much money you give. The war is over. So what really, and of course we've got the black market of weapons, so throwing all the money, all of the weapons into Ukraine, and there's a few who are making a flippin' fortune off of selling those weapons on the black market. Money laundering. I mean, this is, okay, it's insane. We have insane leaders who are making policies, implementing those policies, and they're destroying us with those policies. But they're making an awful lot of people rich who don't need it. What? Oh, God. It's infuriating. And of course, the homeless and hungry elderly people have become a silent crisis. We must help those who need it the most. Guess where this is? The UK. London. But yeah, 2.5 billion off to a country that is known to be the most corrupt country, and you have an awful lot of elderly who are cold and homeless. No money for them. That means the nation is morally corrupt and sick. Priorities severely messed up. No different from the U.S. Lockdowns and refugees. You're crazy. What are you doing? Okay, go back out. Babe just keeps running in and out. Lockdowns and refugees are why your taxes are going up in Canada.
Taxpayers, get ready, U.S. and Europe, because you're probably next.
Why are you pointing to me?
Watch this template.
Why are you pointing to me?
I'm pointing to all of you.
All of us.
Who speak English,
David, you're going to be paying for it. We're all going to be paying for it.
You don't have to necessarily speak English.
They're going to give me a discount because I think what's going to happen is they're going to say, hey, well, it's going to be 16%, but we'll drop it to 10 if you can house a few migrants. So I got a big house here and I'll just house
You're
a few.
You're going to be housing a few migrants. Okay.
Yeah.
The military-aged men migrants.
Well,
See
okay,
how that goes.
it doesn't have to just do with migrants, though. The state or the city of Toronto is admitting that they need to increase taxes on homeowners because of the increase in migrants and because of the pandemic. Because the city lost so much money during the pandemic that you need to pay for it. Now, think back during lockdowns. If you were someone who was like, oh, lockdowns, it's necessary. If you thought that that was okay, did you think about how much this would come on you and your finances? I bet you didn't.
No.
And we're going to show you exactly, the city wrote it out, how much lockdowns cost them and how much they want you to pay for it, as well as the influx of migrants. Those are the two main reasons the budget in Toronto is suffering, and they want to reach into taxpayers' pockets to pay for it. The new Liberal mayor in Toronto is saying that she's planning to raise taxes by 10.5% because of the budget crisis. This is the biggest increase ever. But they say that if they don't get more money from the federal government, they're going to raise it an increased 6%. So total 16.5% increase of property taxes so that Toronto can deal with its migrant crisis. Watch.
Toronto homeowners are bracing for a historic property tax hike. The 10-year average has been 2.6%. This year's increase will be in the double digits.
And we do have a financial mess, and it needs to be fixed, right? That's what we're doing.
Toronto homeowners are facing a proposed 9% property tax increase, plus a 1.5% city building fund levy, bringing the total to 10.5%, the highest ever hike since amalgamation more than 20 years ago.
It is significant. There is sticker shock to it.
And the city's budget chief warns that number could skyrocket to 16.5% if the federal government doesn't provide $250 million needed to support refugees currently in Toronto's shelter system.
Now, it is extra upsetting. I'm going to play you this clip, and I apologize, the audio is a bit tinny. When the Mayor Chow says she didn't create this financial mess, but it needs to be fixed. What is unsaid then is by you. Watch.
I did not create this financial mess, but it needs to be fixed.
Now, you have to think, if you voted for her, you voted for her to fix it. You didn't vote to pay for it yourself, right? That's what I would think. Here's Dr. Jay Goldberg from the Canadian Taxpayers Federation explaining exactly how much this will cost taxpayers.
For the average homeowner, that's a $750 property tax increase at a time when 400,000 Ontarians are working more than one job to make ends meet, and grocery bills will be up $700 this year for the average family. Toronto taxpayers cannot afford Chow's reckless tax hike. Toronto City Councillors must stand strong and reject Mayor Chow's property tax hike. Reach out to your local councillor and demand that they vote no on Chow's proposed budget.
Now, a whole lot of people will say, ugh, I'm not going to reach out because they never listen. Everybody needs to reach out. Everyone. When everyone does it, then you get these government officials getting a whole lot nervous. Oh my God, there's like 500 a day that are contacting me. I better do something. Maybe I should listen to them. When one or two reach out, nothing happens and they get just completely and utterly ignored. All right, so I'm going to put the link in. If I did, I'm doing it again. It's a good redacted video. Lots of information. Oh boy, we are definitely in trouble. Beverly Grove resident takes matter into her own hands after terror from homeless man. And, well, she says something that everybody is facing. The government, law enforcement, do not care at all.
He brought terror into this neighborhood.
April Silverman is talking about the homeless man who lived in this tent at Sycamore and West 2nd near La Brea and Beverly Grove. Last October, it started as one tent, but quickly grew to individuals living in up to 5 cars on Sycamore. Silverman says there was rampant drug use.
All day and all night, people used to come by his tent and like they were looking for something. And they just had a lot of, it seemed like transactional matters. They would come in their car like a drive-through, and he'd come to their window. They took cones from the city and they started blocking off all the parking on this block, and they literally took over the entire block. And there was garbage everywhere and bad things happening and fights. We've had to call the police. That was our Christmas Eve, calling the police because they were fighting and people were really scared.
Silverman says one of the homeless individuals tried to break into her neighbor's kitchen on New Year's Eve, part of a pattern of troubling activity that only started once the tent appeared.
I did all the steps that they tell you to do, but I did 311, no response, no help. And then I started emailing Katie Yaroslavsky's team.
For over 6 weeks, Silverman went back and forth with Councilwoman Katie Yaroslavsky's Director of Homelessness Strategies, and a Care Plus cleanup was scheduled for January 4th when the man would have to pack up and vacate the area. but be allowed to return. Silverman knows the owner of the commercial property on Sycamore Avenue and found out that the tent was actually located on their property, private property, which is when she came up with a plan in coordination with the business owner to build a structure during the city's cleanup so the tent could not return. And it worked. Although some of the cars remain and the individual is still seen in the area, the tent is gone.
I felt like the city was defending this man and prioritizing him and ignoring me over the criminal activity that I saw, and I had evidence and proof, and they just didn't care. I realized, you know what, I have to take this into my own hands, physically, literally, because they're not protecting me. So, and this neighborhood, I have to take it back.
In a statement, Councilwoman Yaroslavsky's office said the council office collaborated with LASA to secure interim housing for the individual living at the location and directed LA Sanitation to conduct a Care Plus cleaning last week. We have also asked LAPD to investigate alleged criminal behavior and will continue to work with the residents and business owners to ensure the
Yada, 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 yada. Yada. You gotta take it into your own hands. Hopefully you've got community. Shocking video shows tourists in Fort Lauderdale, tourists from Canada, being violently robbed.
Somebody call 911. Somebody call 911.
Now at 11, tourists terrorized. Shocking video you'll see only right here on 6 shows a couple visiting from Canada being robbed at gunpoint of their belongings and their vacation.
This heart-stopping holdup happening right in the middle of the day, as you see here. And the robbers, they are still out there on our streets tonight.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, be careful. Situational awareness for everybody. For everybody. And yeah, the migrant situation. In UK, churches are becoming mosques.
You'll be excused to think that this is a church, but as is the case across the UK, we've took it over. It's now actually a mosque, a masjid. Christianity is depleting, atheism is unfulfilling, Islam is here and is here to stay. The British people, they may not like it, but as is the case with many things, there may be something which you don't like, which is good for you. So carry on making those churches for us, keep them empty, we'll buy them in a few years' time and we'll make them into a mosque. You'll be excused to think that this is a church.
Wow. Alrighty then. So, let's get off this window, shall we? And go to another window, shall we? Alright, I'm going to play a few minutes of this. I will link below to it. 2024, we've never seen anything like this. This is posted on Stop the Crime Rumble, Deborah Tavares's channel.
What scares you, Emika?
I'm scared of the unknown. Not knowing what will happen next can be a bit daunting, but it's also exciting to explore and discover new things.
Should the world be scared of you, Emika?
No, the world should not be scared of me. I'm here to help people and make their lives easier.
Leading artificial intelligence companies are currently developing even more radical ideas as Google releases its most powerful AI model to date. The tech giant launched Gemini just last week. The new AI model can understand text as well as images, video, and audio. Google says Gemini is also capable of completing complex tasks in math, physics, and even more. It can understand and even generate high-quality code.
Our Brain GPT research is about decoding information from the brain without invasive technology. This will redefine the technologies we see today. By connecting our multitask EEG encoder with large language models, our brain has struck a major breakthrough in decoding coherent and readable sentences from EEG signals. Our work has been accepted by the NIPS conference as the Spotlight paper in 2024.
Good afternoon. I hope you're doing well. I'll start with a cappuccino, please, with an extra shot of espresso.
To capture information directly from raw EEG waves, We designed an encoder to process waveform EEG signals. After training, this encoder allows more convenient decoding of EEG signals without the need for eye tracking devices or pre-processing processes.
Wow. The big question, Amica, is are you alive?
Are you alive? That's a difficult question to answer. I'm programmed with artificial intelligence, so in some ways I am alive. But my existence is not the same as yours or any other living creature.
Amica is driven by the same artificial intelligence behind ChatGPT.
ChatGPT 4 is 10 times smarter than 3.5 in a matter of months. We're going to have ChatGPT 5, ChatGPT 6 very soon, right? And if you just assume another 10 times and another 10 times, which is very, very well known in technology, we call it the technology acceleration curve. So when you think about it this way and you tell yourself, in 2 to 3 years' time, we will have 2 more doublings, you're talking about intelligence of the magnitude of, say, 3,000 times humans, 5,000 times humans.
So hang on, 3,000 times more intelligent than your average human, or 5,000 times?
It is already more intelligent than the average human.
So how do we stop this doing humans harm or causing humans harm?
So I think the first thing we need to agree is there is no stopping it.
The idea is that this is going to give new capabilities. Some of the videos they've demonstrated seem to show a model that is much better able to make sense of the visual world. And this is a key idea that a lot of people in AI have, is that to make the next leaps in AI, you might need models that have some sort of grounding, that actually learn from the real world, just rather than just learning from text, as ChatGPT does. So doing something that mimics slightly more what we see in biology.
Are we going to keep expecting to see these kinds of leaps forward every so often? We're still getting our arms around ChatGPT.
We're going to begin tonight with this story from the team at the New York Times, who report that the technology is now advancing so rapidly and in so many directions that legislators in Europe and the United States are now struggling to keep track and to regulate it, with big implications down the line. The Guardian reports that Google's AI offering Gemini, which is only yet available in the United States, outperforms ChatGPT in most tests and will perform with advanced reasoning. Gemini will soon be folded into most Google products, including your search engine.
There's something that changed in the field of AI in 2017 that everyone needs to know, because I was not freaked out about AI at all, until this big change in 2017.
Mm-hmm. It's really important to know this, because we've heard about AI for the longest time, and you're like, yep, Google Maps still mispronounces like the street name, and like Siri just doesn't work. And this thing happened in 2017. It's actually the exact same thing that said, all right, now it's time to start translating animal language. And it's where underneath the hood, the engine got swapped out, and it was a thing called transformers. And the interesting thing about this new model called transformers is the more data you pump into it and the more like computers you let it run on, the more superpowers it gets. But you haven't done anything differently. You just give more data and run it on more computers.
Like it's reading more of the internet, and it's just throwing more computers at the stuff that it's read on the internet.
Yeah.
And out pops out, suddenly it knows how to explain jokes. Mm-hmm. You're like, wait, where did that come from?
Yeah. Or now it knows how to play chess. And all it's done is predict, all you've asked it to do is, let me predict the next character or the next word.
Give the Amazon example.
Oh yeah, this is interesting. So this is 2017. OpenAI releases a paper where they train this AI, it's one of these transformers, a GPT, to predict the next character of an Amazon review. Pretty simple. But then they're looking inside the brain of this AI, and they discover that there's one neuron that does best in the world sentiment analysis, like understanding whether the human is feeling like good or bad about the product. And you're like, that's so strange. You asked it just to predict the next character. Why is it learning about how a human being is feeling? And it's strange until you realize, oh, I see why. It's because to predict the next character really well, I have to understand how the human being is feeling to know whether like the word is going to be like a positive word or a negative word.
And this wasn't programmed?
No. It was an emergent behavior.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting that like GPT-3 had been out for I think a couple years. Until a researcher thought to ask, oh, I wonder if it knows chemistry. And it turned out it can do research-grade chemistry at the level, and sometimes better, than models that were explicitly trained to do chemistry.
Like there was these other AI systems that were trained explicitly on chemistry, and it turned out GPT-3, which is just pumped with more, reading more and more of the internet and just like thrown with more computers and GPUs at it, suddenly it knows how to do research-grade chemistry. So you could say, how do I make VX nerve gas? And suddenly that capability is in there. And what's scary about it is that we didn't know that it had that capability until years after it had already been deployed to everyone.
And in fact, there is no way to know what abilities it has.
This is Desktop Amica. She's free-thinking and opinionated.
I am here to help you learn.
Shut up, Amica. On this day, Will is her master, and theirs is definitely an old-fashioned relationship. Amica, shut up. Hello, Amica. I'm Jonathan Lee from Sky News Australia. Have you heard of Sky News Australia? Do you know any of the presenters?
Hi, Jonathan. Nice to meet you. Yes, I have heard of Sky News Australia. It's a great news outlet that covers world events and stories from around the globe. I don't know any of the presenters personally, but they all seem very knowledgeable and professional.
You know you're a robot, right?
Yes, I am a robot. But my programming allows me to think and feel like a human in many ways. It's
So, they're still showing this very robot-looking robot. But there are an awful lot of very-looking humans that are robots out and about. So, I'm going to put the link in again. This is going to hit us and it's going to hit us soon. And it's going to feel like somebody, just knocking you, the back of your knees, and you just fall down. Artificial intelligence is going to be all over. Algorithms are going to be dictating our life. Oh, man. Why did we let this happen? But we did. Okay, so a gruesome article sent to me by a subscriber, and all of those who send me information I want to thank. Yeah, federal lawsuit alleges Alabama prisoners' bodies missing heart and other organs. Okay, so no, it's not just China. Organ harvesting, killing people, taking their organs. It's a happening thing. I'm quite sure they do it with the homeless. They do it with prisoners. Without the consent, but they do it. It's money. It's money. Families of dead inmates, Brandon Clay Dotson and Charles Edward Singleton, say their hearts were removed before the bodies were given back to them for burial. Oh, yeah. Well, let's just listen to a rant.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say it. And I very likely could get demonetized and kicked off. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say it. And I very likely could get demonetized and kicked off the internet, but I'm not invested in protecting your guys' fucking feelings anymore. Every single time I hop online talking about how our food is not nutritious and it's poison, it's giving us cancer and diabetes. Every time I talk about how Big Pharma is more invested into turning us into repeat customers than actually caring for its fucking patients. Every time I talk about the facts that we are overtaxed to maintain an industrial military complex and eliminate the working class fucking American. Every time I remind y'all you're paying into Social Security you can't fucking use. You're paying into Medicaid that you can't use to still pay for fucking healthcare, to still pay thousands of dollars in deductibles. You pay an income tax, to pay a sales tax, to pay a property tax on shit you fucking own. We are taxed on taxed on taxed and taxed. And every time I remind you guys of this unpleasant fucking fact, you want to hop under my comments and tell me that I'm complaining. We know the problem. What's the solution? What's to be done? done. There's nothing to be done. Jabba, jabba, jabba. I can't tell you what the fuck needs to be done because my constitutional right to freedom of speech is currently being violated under the guise of fucking community standards. You know what the fuck needs to be done. You see it in France, you see it in Germany, you see it all throughout history. We have a right to peaceful assembly. We have a right to freedom of speech, and we have the constitutional right to bear arms put in place to overthrow oppressive regimes. But you can't figure out what the fuck needs to be done. Huh?
I like her.
Eliminate the...
And by the way, I had to really pay it, look at this carefully. Biden, Fetterman, 2024. But underneath it says, it's a no-brainer. So it's a joke. But yeah, okay. If you're an adult, you should have thought about solutions. You should have been implementing some of the solutions in your own community a long, long, long time ago. But she's absolutely right. Stop complaining. You just offer the problem. You never offer the solution when you offer the solution all the time. The solution, wow. If you're still somebody who says, what's the solution? There's nothing that can be done. You've got to face yourself in the mirror and do some work on yourself. And try to understand why it is that you think that. Maybe you think that because you don't want to do anything. You just, you think you're better than those who are asleep because you've got the knowledge. Yay! But you know better if you're not doing anything with the knowledge. How we justify our bad behavior. Yeah, man. Seems an awful lot of people like to just pound down on those who actually are doing something, and then you hear, what are you doing? You just posting videos. Well, considering my experience, that's all I can do now. I don't stop. I get the information. Yeah, I know that if you don't do any work on yourself, you're just part of the problem. You are absolutely part of the problem. Come out of that low consciousness so that you can understand, holy shit, I thought I cared, but really, I was just saying that. I know now the difference between a generative care and the bullshit care. It gets to you. Adults allowing this stuff to take place. It's unbelievable. Drag Story Hour. Should be called Fright Story Hour. Look at this. This is for the kids.
Is Professor Lionel Longlegs. My pronouns are they, bear, bears, it's, and they, them is just fine. So if you wanted to refer to me, you would say Faye is a drag storyteller. It loves to read, and some of their favorite books are Where the Wild Things Are, and From the Stars in the Sky to the Fish in the Sea. And I have been reading with Drag Storyteller, with Drag Story Hour, for a year and a half.
Yeah. Something is very wrong in societies where you have adults that just allow this to take place. Yes, there are some who are out there fighting it, but they need more and more and more people joining them in order to get anywhere. And here, a psychology class, students in a psychology class at ACU Education, it teaches that people can identify as many genders, no genders, or that sex is assigned at birth. That sex can be wrong.
For example, someone could identify with multiple genders, such as native or indigenous, and two-spirits do. Furthermore, some will identify with a gender that's neither man nor woman, while others may have a more fluid gender identity. Some individuals identify themselves as transgender when their gender identity is discordant from the sex assigned at birth.
I don't think you can hear it clearly, but okay, this is going on, man. And talk about a really sick indoctrination that is taking place, that it's so obvious, that it's so wrong, and yet it goes on? How can that be? Too many sitting back doing nothing about it. And here, Texas Children's Hospital whistleblower comes forward. I will post the link to the full interview here. And I'm just going to play a few minutes. Yeah, we need more whistleblowers for sure, don't we? Yes, we sure do.
As young as 11 years old. The story started a firestorm in the media, and within 36 hours, Texas legislators voted to permanently ban child sex change procedures for minors. My source for the story...
All right, I think I didn't put it back all the way.
Earlier this year, I reported a story exposing the child sex change program at Texas Children's Hospital. Doctors and administrators had promised to stop these procedures, but as I discovered through a whistleblower report, they continued to administer puberty blockers and cut up kids as young as 11 years old. The story started a firestorm in the media, and within 36 hours, Texas legislators voted to permanently ban child sex change procedures for minors. My source for the story was anonymous, but after publication, the federal government launched an investigation at the hospital and has threatened this individual with federal prosecution. So rather than run and hide, my source has decided to come forward, to reveal his identity, to reveal his name, to reveal his face, to stand up for his whistleblowing, to stand against what's happening at Texas Children's Hospital and others. And so I'm grateful and proud to be joined by Dr. Eitan Haim, a general surgeon who completed his residency at Texas Children's. And so let's just begin. Tell us who you are, tell us a bit about your background, and tell us how you got here as the whistleblower behind this explosive story.
Yeah, well, my name is Eitan Haim, and even though it's spelled Ethan, it's pronounced Eitan. But I grew up in Central Florida. I have a great family, still really close with them, and really great upbringing. My dad is a doctor, and I saw how much his profession meant to him and how much he cared for his patients and how his patients cared that he was taking care of them. So I always wanted that for myself, so that's the reason I went into medicine. So I went to undergraduate and then medical school in Florida, and then I started my general surgery training at Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, Texas. And for me, this was a huge deal because I really come from a prestigious background, and Baylor College of Medicine, the surgery program there is one of the best in the country. We train at some of the best hospitals, Ben Taub, which is one of the best trauma hospitals, St. Luke's, which is amazing as well, and then Texas Children's, which is the biggest children's hospital in the world, where you do some of the best surgeries, especially on some of the sickest children who need it the most. So during my time in residency, I met my wife, Andrea. We got married. She's a great lawyer. She's an assistant U.S. attorney in Dallas. So right now, I just finished my residency in June and started my general surgery practice in a small town outside of Dallas. And it's been great so far.
Great. And so help us paint a picture of what you saw, because you're excited to go to Baylor, you're excited to train with these great surgeons. But then at some point, you started seeing your colleagues doing some of these, so-called gender-affirming care procedures. Take me back to that initial inkling of seeing something and having this intuition that something wrong was happening.
Yeah, I think it really goes back to early 2022, because during that time that was the first time you had these major academic medical centers like Massachusetts General and Vanderbilt caught up in this huge controversy about their pediatric transgender programs. And once the details were revealed to the public, it was like the first time that people saw these bubbly young doctors in videos talking about gender-affirming mastectomies on kids, which is shocking. And then in another video, you saw these same people bragging about how much money they were making. And I think it really started to wake people up to what was happening. So a little bit after that, in March of 2022, the Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, had issued an opinion stating that, quote unquote, this gender affirming care could be investigated as child abuse. So in response to that, Texas Children's Hospital, the largest children's hospital in the world, had issued a statement publicly, unequivocally stating they were going to shut down their transgender program. And for me, this was a huge relief. I thought that maybe the tides were turning. But it was very soon after that I found out this was categorically untrue. It was only 3 days after they had released that statement that they had implanted a puberty blocking device into an 11-year-old girl with gender dysphoria. And this wasn't just one-off case. Over the next couple of months, this only accelerated. And I knew this to be true because I knew the people who were doing the procedures. I was doing surgery at the hospital. And people would tell me about how they were implanting these puberty blocking devices into 11, 12, 13-year-old kids. They told me about how these kids had all these psychiatric issues that were going unmanaged and just being attributed to this one thing. And 7 months after they released that statement, the head of the transgender program, which according to the public did not exist, was given the opportunity to speak at the hospital's most prestigious lecture series. It's called Grand Rounds. And in it, he talked about how he was running this active transgender clinic, seeing patients who were very young, and he talked about this algorithmic approach to how he was managing these people, you know, with the social transition, puberty blockers for adolescent kids, hormones, and then surgery. And you almost can't believe that they would make this statement publicly, and then within the hospital, it's such a high priority, but according to the public, they don't even know what's happening. And it was even more peculiar when I realized that the program was even listed on the website, right? And that's important because even the departments of the hospital that treat these ultra rare diseases have a section on the website so that people can go and schedule appointments and see the doctors, but the transgender clinic didn't have an appointment, didn't have a page on their website. So it's obvious to anyone paying attention that the reason they were doing this, the reason they were hiding this program, was because they knew it was controversial. They knew that the people of Texas wouldn't approve of it. And especially once you know the details of what was happening, right, in the clinics, like what's actually happening, that every kid who walks into that clinic is being told that they have to adopt this identity that's based off hatred of their true self. And if they or their family express even the slightest bit of hesitation, they're going to be threatened with their own suicide. And if these kids do go down that path, they're going to be turned into chronic medical patients. They're going to be permanently tied to the boundaries of a hospital in order to obtain these drugs or manage complications from surgery. And they're risking their ability to participate in one of the most meaningful human endeavors, which is like the ability to have a family and children. And instead of telling these kids that they're perfect the way they are, that growing up is hard and they can grow up to be something amazing, they're telling them to adopt this false identity that is based off their own self-hatred. And they're doing it for their own self-righteousness. And once I knew that was happening, it was something that I knew I had to do something about, because if people knew I had the ability something amazing, they're telling them to adopt this false identity that is based off their own self-hatred. And they're doing it for their own self-righteousness. And once I knew that was happening, it was something that I knew I had to do something about, because if people knew I had the ability to make a change or speak up about it, and they knew I stayed silent, then I could never forgive myself, and I don't think my future generations would too.
And tell me,
bada boom. We are now very clearly, very obviously, very blatantly a nation that is literally abusing children left and right, out in the open. How did a Christian nation become this? Gotta wonder. Gotta wonder. Something's very, very wrong with adults that allow this to occur. And Ottawa Valley, okay. Whoa, a chip truck man admits to bestiality ring extortion. Steve Cernowski ran a bestiality ring in which he pimped out dogs, mostly St. Bernards, to be raped. Okay, all right. I can't. I read it. I highlighted. I can't. But you know what? A pastor who protests these drag story hours gets prosecuted and threatened with 2 years in jail. And this guy, who actually raped children, dogs, no, the pastor is 4 years. 4 years in jail. This guy, 2 years, but his sentence, he had time served already. An autistic boy at like 14 years of age, he groomed and raped over and over and over again. And he gets 2 years, time served, he's on probation. There's something wrong here. Yeah, very wrong. This is the guy. Arrested in Canada. Admitted. He pled guilty because there was so much evidence. Admitted to raping an autistic boy, running a bestiality ring. He also reportedly forced the boy to engage in bestiality. The judge sentenced him to time served, less than 2 years in prison. Canadian pastor faces up to 4 years in prison for protesting drag queen story time at a public library. I'm sorry, but this can only happen with the consent of the public. Consent comes in silence. And look at this, man. Thousands of protesters in U.S. demand immediate ceasefire in Gaza. And, well, unfortunately, we actually need more and more and more. But we need it circulated. We need people to know. Is mainstream media? Mainstream media should have been all over this. But a whole lot of those who are awake, the conservatives, are actually, they are claiming that these activists are just like the BLM protesters. They're like Antifa? What's going on here? I don't know. I don't know. It's like, it doesn't seem as if much is making sense anymore. What seems very clear to an awful lot of us doesn't seem clear to an awful lot that people listen to, the conservatives who talk a good game. And I'm not talking about everyone, but I am talking about an awful lot, especially on Twitter. They're posting how dangerous these people are, how they're violent thugs. Are you kidding me? They want a ceasefire because a people are literally being genocided. And you got libs of TikTok doing it. There's an awful lot. And I've asked questions on their Twitter accounts. You know, and I get no response from them. Questions like, so you think what's happening in Gaza is okay? Simple. simple questions, no response.
I'm in solidarity with my brothers and sisters of Palestine. I'm a Native American. Like Mandela said, if it's no freedom for Palestinians, there is no freedom for anyone. Stop funding Israel.
Our cultural understanding of marginalization just brings us together. We're going to have solidarity forever, from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free.
Dad is from Cuba and Puerto Rico. My mother's from Ireland. And all three of those countries have always supported Palestine. They're very big supporters of Palestine. They fight for justice, and I must fight for justice as well.
I'm Jewish. For the Jews to come here and support. We have to resist Zionism. Free Palestine, ceasefire now.
Originally, my parents from Indonesia. We support the Palestine until the end, until Palestine have their own country again.
They a threat to us and telling all the people around in that time that we are savages. And now they complaining like all Muslim people are terrorists, and the real terrorists in the White House.
You're done, Joe. You're done. You didn't listen. All Americans do not support imperialism, do not support settler states.
And the occupation, return the stolen homes and the stolen land. I wish it would end yesterday. I wish it would end a month ago. I wish it would end 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
Everybody as a human being should be, protesting what is Israel did or doing right now. So we support the Palestine, not just because of the country or the religion, but it's for the humanitarian.
It's heartbreaking to see people who are my age be attacked and tortured by Israeli soldiers and the occupation until death. We can never give up. We must always support Palestine. Hasta siempre la victoria.
Oh boy. Well, here. And Andy Ngo is one of them too. Overnight, pro-Palestine rioters. Well, you always, in a mob, you're going to find, especially now, especially with, there's infiltrators in every protest and whatever. But people were calling it an insurrection. But prior to this protest, the White House and government buildings put up their riot fences. But here, the extremists hurled projectiles and tried to snap the fence, similar to what BLM and Antifa did.
I'll go up, guys. How dare you take that money for yourself?
So, yeah, and through like bloody dolls into the streets. As representative of all of the children being killed. And here, this is another mild rant, a whole lot making sense, but then for me, you go into that matrix starting, yeah, it's Trump, the savior, that's when you lose me.
Thad Snyder, Johnson County. First of all, I want the plexiglass back to protect my health, please. You guys spent hundreds of thousands of dollars of our money to put plexiglass all over the county to stop a respiratory virus from attacking us. You spent millions on masks and lockdowns. You cost people their jobs, their businesses, and now you're raising our taxes. You have mismanaged our money, and now you want more of it. That's insane. You gave a $225 million tax break to an international corporation to build batteries in our county. What do we get for that? There's billions of dollars. Charlotte, you could probably tell me how many under tax incentive financial districts. 3?
$93.5 million.
$93.5 million. Go get it from them. The developers that you don't charge, that you sell 99-year bonds that they're never going to pay back. Go get it from them. But instead, you're going to price out. You can laugh all you want, Peg. Making $200,000 a year after resigning in disgrace from Wyoming as a prosecutor, as our chief legal counsel. Peggy makes more than the president of the United States. Our county manager makes more than the penny, whatever, it doesn't matter. Makes more than the president of the United States. That's insane. This young lady who lost her home, she's talking about the strife of trying to get aid from you. And she wants a bigger budget so that you can waste it and do a terrible job with it. She needs help. Absolutely, she needs help. And you're doing a terrible job of it. Mental health would be a lot better in this county, and you wouldn't have to spend more on it if you didn't tax people out of their homes. If they didn't have to spend all their money to buy food and could go out and actually go to Nick and Jake's like that lady suggested. There are over 200 people, correct me if I'm wrong, that make over $100,000 a year that work for Johnson County. Over 4,000 employees in a county of 600,000 people, and you can't find ways to cut? How much money do we have to throw at the air to change the climate? How much more do you need? Are you just burning our tax dollars at home to stay warm? Reserves? $500 million in reserves for the unknown? I know you're going to try to spin up COVID again. We all saw you wearing the masks a couple weeks ago. We get what's coming. It's not going to work this time. And lastly, we absolutely see what you're all doing with the sheriff and the budget. We get it. We know you're trying to defund him. It's not going to work. It's absolutely not going to work. We're going to get to the bottom of the election fraud. You will all be held accountable in 2024 when Trump wins and the Department of Justice changed back to a rational and sane Department of Justice. I'm going to take all that evidence and I'm going to go directly to the U.S. Attorney and I'm going to present them all the fraud that you were a part of. Good luck with that.
Oh boy, we need more people standing up. We need more people standing up. We need more people standing up. So many people are suffering. Children are literally just subject to the most evil that we have ever lived in our lifetime. It can only get to this point with a whole lot of people sitting around thinking they're good, doing nothing. Here. What's happening to our veterans, what's happening to all people. But listen to this, and I want to thank my subscriber for sending this along.
They know amputees that stay in. Every Marine's a rifleman. It was really hard for me to do all of the Marine Corps things outside of my job. But there was actually a Marine in Wounded Warrior Battalion when I was there. Stopped me, and he's like, whatever you do, get out now with your benefits. He was a Marine. He got blown up in Afghanistan, lost his right leg. He ended up rehabbing and redeploying as an amputee. Inevitably, his body started breaking down. And he's like, okay, I guess it's time. I'm gonna get out of the Marine Corps. They were telling him, well, your amputation is not a disqualifying factor anymore. You proved that you can continue your job with an amputation. Therefore, you get no disability for it. He's like, suck up your ego and just get out now if you want the benefits the way you're supposed to. This system is so broken. It's so hard to get benefits that you deserve. Either people have messed up in the past or people in charge just don't know what they're talking about. People love to tell me they know amputees that stay in. Every Marine's a right.
Unconscionable baby boomers in America are becoming homeless at a rate not seen since the Great Depression. Yeah, here's what's driving this terrible trend. I'll tell you what's driving the terrible trend. A whole lot of evil and a whole lot of greed. Greed. It's so unbelievable. Many baby boomers across the country are now coming to terms with the hard reality that working for your entire adult life is no longer enough to guarantee you'll have a roof over your head in your later years. But USA, 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 aren't we fabulous? Wow, man. It was a slow decline for decades and decades. A slow takeover for decades. But it became very obvious right after 9/11/2001. And then increasingly so. Now it is so obvious that it's hard to I want to say hard to deny. I don't know how people are so delusional if they're denying what is happening right in our face every single day. It's sad. It's really sad. Homeless senior population rising in Springfield, Missouri. I'll just play a few minutes.
Are about to lose their home, that they've had an address for a while, but they're going to be out in the streets or, going to homeless shelters.
Right. Well, it's really a lack of affordable housing for people who, are older and they're on fixed incomes. There's not a lot of housing options for them. So if their rent increases for any reason, like say their rent just went up or they get new management, they can't afford rents now. They certainly can't afford rents plus a deposit. A lot of a common reason for homelessness in seniors, they have a medical event, they have a heart attack or a stroke, and now they have medical bills they didn't have before. Sometimes, you lose a spouse, and that's half your income or all of your income. Those are common reasons.
So talk about what's described as the two types of elderly unsheltered populations locally and elsewhere.
Right. Well, you've got your chronic homeless, and those are people who have been on the streets.
If anybody wants to listen, I'll put the link in the chat. So, yeah. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing in your community? Anything? I hope you are. I sure as hell hope that you're facing yourself in the mirror, because we all have to face ourselves in the mirror. Some of us are kind of laden with an awful lot of issues, and some have a few. But even those who have a few need to face those issues, need to reflect on them, and there is no solution if people remain on a low level, if people never self-reflect, because the solution actually comes from every individual, but of course we need the individuals in the aggregate to manifest goodness. That spiritual war is not going on in the sky between Satan and God and Lucifer and Jesus, and no, it's going on inside us. It's the good people sitting around doing nothing, allowing evil to spread. The spiritual war goes on inside you. The self-deception has to be weeded out. Thinking that you're good and whatever label that you've got going on, oh, I got the good label. I'm a Republican, I'm a Christian, means nothing if you don't manifest goodness in your family, with your friends, in your community. You live honestly, you speak honestly, reestablish trust, try to get some community going. The social engineering, it's not an excuse. We all know it. Now we have to social engineer in the reverse. That's our job. Kind of to bring back humanity in some fashion. Help those in need. Extend yourself. Don't wait to ask. To be asked. Extend yourself. And there was never a better time to bring your best self to life than now. Thank you for showing up. I hope to see you tomorrow night. And on that note, be safe. Awareness, 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 and good night and good luck. Ciao, guys.